Okay, we got a 99 Ranger in the shop today. It's been sitting for a long time, and the customer wants me to get it running again. So I'll show you, tell you what we've done so far. We've got this broke down into some different areas. Let's see, we're going to need to replace the brake line on the ABS. We're going to have to do an alternator and a blower motor on it today. Let's see, we're going to do oil change. I fixed the radiator problem. This one had an issue where the truck wasn't warming up and staying warm, and it wasn't building pressure, and I changed the radiator cap, as you can probably see right there, right over there. Yep, right there. So we're going to break this down into sections. First section is going to be all the electrical related issues, so that would be the alternator and the blower motor. So let's get going. We're going to start with the alternator. So let me get you up here so you can see. Oh, actually, alternator sits down in there. Sits right down there. So to get that off, we need to pull this snorkel tube off, or this air intake. So to do that, we got to get our connectors unhooked here. I'll show you a trick I use on these. Take a screwdriver, stick it in the back, pry down, pull straight out. They don't always click, so you got to just kind of work with them. And then we got to take our end off down here on the intake. This is to make it easier to get to the alternator. Seems like I've been doing alternators a lot lately. And then on this one, you pull this little tab off down here, and this takes your wiring loose. You set that back there. Set it back there, and then you can push your two tabs in down here on your air filter. Rock that off, and then pick this up and off. Yeah, probably ought to put an air filter in this thing too while we're at it. All right. While we got our tool handy, we need to disconnect our battery. You don't want to go playing with that alternator with the battery hooked up. Bad things could happen. So, unhook our negative terminal here. That's all we have to do on this truck, just unhook the negative terminal. Set that down there. We gotta take our belt off. Got the good old serpentine belt tool here. Pop that in there just like that, and we'll pull back on it like this. And that loosens this belt up enough to where we can get it off the alternator. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and let it roll back. We'll leave that on there, that way we don't have to worry about looking for it later. Alright, so the alternator on this truck has got two clips and a wire for your B positive. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better so you can see. You can kind of see the electrical on this thing. We got a coolant tank in the way. So what I usually do on these is I'll take this B positive off first. It looks like it's a 10, so I'll get my 10 millimeter out. And just take that nut loose on the back of the alternator, like so. Or like that. That was easy. This alternator's been replaced before. The reason we're changing it again, or actually this is the first time I've ever changed it, but the reason we're changing it is because he's got a battery light on. And I did some on-car testing to see what's going on with it, and Ford alternators, they use a regulator bolted to the back of them. And that regulator has since left the chat. So the alternator itself is charging, or it's maintaining a charge, but it's not increasing the charge. For example, if you run the engine up with your utilities on, or your accessories, I guess you could call it, not really utilities. You race that engine up to about 2,000 RPM with your high beams on, you should get about 14.6 charging. This one's doing 13.9 to 14 charging. So that tells me that the regulator's bad. So we're going to change this one out. I don't know who did this alternator or where it came from. I'm sure we'll find out when we get it off of here. All right, so let's see, we got 2 bolts in the bottom and we got 1 on the top. So let's get them bolt back. Now you want to be careful because there's nothing holding this on, so as soon as you pull that bolt out, that thing's going to hit the floor. Don't want to do that because you'll break your core and you won't get your 25 bucks back. I want my 25 bucks back, so there you go. The bolts are the same size, so if you mix them up, that's fine because they'll all fit in the same spot. All right, now we got to get it up past these heater hoses. Let's see, how are we going to do that? Should be able just to pick this hose up, feed it in between the heater hose and the alternator hose here. Or not alternator hose. Alternators don't have hoses. Heater hose and the AC line. Push your heater hose down, and this little sucker scoots up in between like that. And that's how you get your alternator out. Alright, so let's go to the table. We'll go to the Bay 2 table, or Bay 1 table today. We're working in Bay 2, so. Alright, so that is the back of a Ford alternator. This right here is your voltage regulator. So when this rotates, it creates energy, okay? This is your battery positive connector, or B positive. This is where the battery gets its power from. So what this does is this generates electricity and it goes through this regulator, okay? This regulator sends a signal to the computer when to charge and when not to charge. And then that way, it also goes through here. There's a field connector right here. That right there is for your light. If you have a light or a gauge, that's your gauge connector. So you'll go through here. It'll go out, because your windings are in here. It goes out of this terminal to the battery. If any of that makes sense, then you understand what I'm saying. So when these fail, it's because either the regulator has gone bad because the internals inside here have failed, or in rare cases, the bearings, which sit in the back and in the front of the case, the bearings fail. Bearings will fail, you'll hear a squealing noise. There was no squealing noise. It was just basically this quit doing its job. So we're going to put this in our box. I'll show you what our new alternator looks like. And we'll get that installed. Then we'll move on to the blower motor. Here's our new alternator. Pulley color is irrelevant, okay? I know some of you are out there saying, well, the pulley colors don't match. They don't have to. That's just whatever they put on there. See, it's the same thing that we're putting on. Zoom back here so you can see what's going on. See? All right. Looks like it's the same thing we just took off. All right. You need one of these. I got a part number for you right there. There's your part number. Okay. Now you got to put this back on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this B positive nut off, and I'm going to look for a lock nut or a lock washer. Okay. It's a combination lock nut. Okay, combination lock nut. I want to set that down. All right, we want to make sure we got our terminal connections, and we do. So, get this back on. We got to push down our heater hose and get it down past our sensors. And when we get it down on the other side of the air conditioning, we pick up on the heater hose and we slide it back on. Being careful not to break anything in the process, because there's vacuum lines and everything else down here. Put the top bolt in to hold it in place. This is kind of a critical step right here. You want to get your top bolt in first. You want to make sure that your heater hoses are out of the way. Get some thread started, then you can let it hang. One thing you want to know that I need to tell you about this system. All right, you can do it wrong. I'll show you real quick how you can do it wrong. You see that T right there? If you don't do this correctly, you're going to put pressure on that hose going up to the T, and you're going to break that T. All right, if you're not comfortable with that hose being there, you can drain the radiator down, take that hose off the T, and then that opens that wide up. Okay, I do it this way because I've done this before, and that T doesn't scare me. Okay, I've had to change that T out on my 01. I've had to change that T out on several other trucks. It's not that big of a deal to me. It's a hell of a lot better than the T further up. That one right there is a huge pain in the butt. So that right there, I don't care about that. So moving on. Let's get our alternator put on so we can get our blower motor installed. All right, so now you can see the alternator really good. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what's happening. I'll try to stay out of the frame, that way you can see what's going on. All right, so we got our top bolt in, so we got to put our two bottom bolts in, and then we can tighten the bolts up. Do your connections last, especially because you're going to have to move this around a few times to get these bolts started. Usually Ford will give you a guide bolt, but on some things Ford does not provide a guide bolt. A guide bolt is a bolt that's got a spot on the front of it that doesn't have any threads on it. It's called a guide bolt because it aligns the threads up to the hole which it's going into. Ford usually does that on alternators, but they didn't do it on this one, so you got to be careful. Once you get your bolts started, you can go ahead and get your bolts screwed down. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to get these bolts down. Ah! That hurt. Alright, and then you got a vacuum line right here that goes to your heater controls, so you want to make sure you want to get past that. And then don't worry about tightening these up with the gun here, because we're going to tighten them up with the ratchet here in a minute. Sometimes you got to feed your tools down around the exhaust. That's why you want to do this job. Do this job with the engine cold. That way you don't burn yourself. Now then we'll go back over our bolts and we'll tighten them up. There is a torque spec. I think it's like 18 foot-pounds, but about a quarter turn does it for me. Because that gun, that zip gun, it does a good job of tightening it up on its own if you just let it eat. Yeah, that one's good. All right. Now we can go through and put our connections together. So we got 2 clips and a connector here. So we're gonna grab our nut right here, okay? And we're gonna start. We start on the bottom and work our way up. That way we don't leave anything behind. All right, so we got our B positive lead right here. You can't see it, but trust me, it's here. And we got our nut right here. We gotta make sure it's the same size as the old one, and it is. So put our nut on, spin that down by hand, and then tighten it with the ratchet. Make sure that you're pulling your boot back when you do this. So we'll spin that nut on there, take it down as far as we can, and we'll tighten it up with our ratchet. Tech tip of the day for you: if you don't have your nut down all the way and you find that your ratchet won't ratchet, take your finger, put it on the socket, and it'll give it some friction, and then it'll spin. It'll ratchet for you, and you can spin that nut down. All right, we'll go in here. We gotta find our plug on our alternator here. Make sure they snap in, or they're not in all the way. That one snapped. That one snapped. All right, now we just gotta put the belt on, then we can get the blower motor installed. Okay. All right, so pull your tool back, get it up on there, and let it go. Alternator's done. Real easy. All right. Blower motor's back there. I've already diagnosed it as bad. Blower motor is held in by 3 bolts. Well, this one's got, it looks like it's got 4 bolts. Let me check here. Nope. Okay, it's got these 2 that you can see and one down there you can't see. And they are, well, that's a 7. That's in the wrong spot. I think they're 8s. Yep. Okay, so we're going to take those 3 screws out. Now I got the blower motor that does not have the squirrel cage on it. So we're going to show you how to put a squirrel cage on one of these, providing this one's in good shape. There's that one. See, the joy about having your air box open is you can put your tools in it. Alright, now this has a vent tube attached to the side of it. You want to just grab it and pull it out. Okay. This one's got a little strap that holds it to the back of the motor, so you want to take that rubber strap off too. Do not break this strap. This strap is critical to this thing working properly. And we'll go ahead and we'll just... Oh, we got another bolt here that I found. It does have 4 bolts in it. Thought it did. As far as your foam goes, you're going to lose the foam. It's just cost of doing business. Now you can, if you know what type of material that is, you can probably buy some from an upholstery shop. I think it's just basic foam. Especially if they're oddly shaped and you can't get another one. Alright, so there's 4 bolts, or 4 screws. Pick it up. You gotta move this electrical out of the way so you can get the squirrel cage past. Okay. You gotta get past this air conditioning stuff. Looks like we're going to pull these tanks out. Oh joy! Well, you get to see the tanks out after all. Alright, so we'll take them tanks out. Not that big of a job. You got 2 bolts that hold it in. And then we're not taking them completely out, we're just moving them. Because I need about an 1/8 inch worth of space here to get that. Pick this up. It sits inside of a little slot in the fender. At least mine does. Looks like we got a nut down there we got to pull off. Okay. This one is OE to the T. We got to pull the air box out to get that 1 bolt. I don't know if I can get the air box to come out. We got 2 plugs in the bottom here. I can feel it. We gotta get these 2 bottom plugs out. Here's that one. Here's that one. Okay. And we should be able to pull it forward and get 2 out of the side. One of them is going to have the bumper, the grommet with it. The other one, come on. You got to pull these out of the truck. There we go. Got our air box out. Got to be very careful when you do this. So there's what these grommets, they may or may not stay in it. But there's your bottom right there. You want to make sure you don't break these tabs off down here. See these tabs? You want to make sure you don't break those off. We'll set our box with our hardware over to the side here. And the reason why we had to do that is for that nut right there. That nut has to come off in order for us to get this tank out. A lot of people, when they have to go through that nightmare, they won't put that nut back on. All this because I don't have enough room to get that squirrel cage out. I'm going to show you how this works though. This is on a slide. So we're going to take these nuts off. Maybe. There we go. Got one of them off. Now we're going to put it back on so I can get my socket back. These are super fine threads, so you want to be careful on them. Put that down in our air box. And then we got another one straight down here on this side. This side's easier to get to. Nope. That's how you break studs off. We're not breaking studs off today, folks. There's that one. Now we're going to take our our tanks here. We'll get them off the studs. I'm just going to slide them over. We're not even going to unplug them. See that? We're just going to slide it over a little bit. We're going to move this, take this AC line off of here. Oh, okay, it's a lift up. All right, and we'll move that out of the way. Push this electrical down. There's your blower motor. There's your blower motor. All right. Yeah, this sucker's locked up. This thing's not even spinning. Looks like we just got leaves in there. So let's go over to our bench and I'll show you how you take this apart. All right, take this apart. You have a retaining clip right there. When you take this retaining clip off, you have to do it carefully because you need to reuse that retaining clip. So get that clip off, you just gotta pry up on it. Try not to break it. See? You just go around it, and pry up on it as you go around it. And then it will, see, pop right off. And there's our retaining clip. And then you grab the motor, and you should be able to pry this off of here. This one's been on here a while, so we might have to get a screwdriver on it and try to pry it off from the back side. I'm gonna go get some spray. We're gonna spray that down and slide that right off of there. Be just 1 second. All right, let's get this off of here. Spray some stuff on here. And take it. Stick your crowbar under one side of it and you hold it still and you just kind of pry back on it. It will come off. You just got to get it broke free because it's been on here for a really long time. See that? It's moving. You got to push it, pull it back, push it, pull it back, and you wiggle it as you do it. All right, let's get this show on the road. We got to hurry and get this done before the rain gets here. We have another day where we don't get much done. All right, so find a good spot to put your hand. That's a good spot. We're just going to tap it down with the hammer like this. All right. There we go. You see what I did there? I took both my hands, put it underneath and pried up on it. Popped it off. Got it past the goalpost. And there's your old dead motor. Let's see if the new motor's got some foam on it. Let's see if the PM271's got some foam on it. If it does, we don't have to worry about transferring that foam over. But if it don't, we're going to have to find a way to transfer that foam over. This is a Continental motor with no foam. Okay, so let me show you how we do that. All right. Find where your foam attaches. Now, this one's not coming off. Usually these will peel right off. I'm not going to worry about it. If he complains of noise or anything, we can always take it back off and get some of this foam and put some new foam on it. Usually when you redo these blower motors, you don't get to put the foam back on. All right, so this is keyed. I'll show you. It's got a flat spot on it, so it's keyed. That matches the flat spot on your blower, on your squirrel cage. So you line the two up like that, and you just got it down on there. Okay, squirrel cage is on. Spin it, make sure that you got, that it's not giving you problems. All right. Before you put this clip back on, compare your electrical. Make sure it's the same is what you took off. And it looks like we're the same here. Okay? So, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you how you put this little clip back on. Alright, now this clip, it did get broke a little bit, but it'll still hold. Alright, so you got a raised section on this. So you get it started. And if it didn't break, see, you can go ahead and put that down on there like that. See that? And that'll work just fine. Alright, now we can put it back in the truck. Now we're going to put it back in the truck. Alright, installation is easier than removal. I guarantee it is. Alright, so this is also keyed. You've got a dimple here and a dimple here. They're alignment dowels built into the heater box. You have to line those up on those dimples. So you'll feed your motor through like this. You get all your electrical out of the way, and you'll feed your motor down in like this. Then you'll rotate this until it locks in on them dimple dowels. See that? Your motor's installed because your bolt holes, your screw holes line up now. So you can go ahead and put some screws in it. You're screwing into plastic, so you want to be very careful. OEM will just have the holes needed for the hardware. Alright, so let me show you what we're doing with that little tube right here. We gotta get the trash out of this tube real quick. It's got a little piece of tree stuck in it. And I'm tempted to blow through it, but I'm not. Okay, so this part goes up on the heater box. That wraps around the blower motor. So, let me show you how that's supposed to go, in case you have to do this one day. I'm going to try to put you over here and then work around you. Alright, so you're looking at your blower motor. Okay. You're looking at your blower motor. Your blower motor's right here. That little hole sits right here where my finger is. Alright, so this fits up inside that hole. You got to get your rubber band wrapped around it. And then you get this down inside here. And then it's like a regular grommet. You just push it down inside until it seals. This part here goes down onto the heater box, and then that little tab, that little rubber tab, you're supposed to push in on it, and it'll hold that to the, see, like that. See, there it goes. And that's how that little hose goes on. If you're OCD and you like things on edges, you can put them on the edge like that. So, while I got you here, let's go ahead and plug this in. This is our connector. We can go ahead and just snap that in. Alright, we got that snapped in. Alright, so we got our receiver dryer for our air conditioning. We got to plug that back in. Alright, I've got the key in my pocket. We're going to hook the battery back up. And we're going to see if we're good to go. So let me get you over there so you can see me at the battery. And then I'm going to go turn on the key, and we're going to see if that rotates. If it does, we can put the box, we can put the heater box back, or put that stuff back together. All right. Moment of truth. Let's go ahead and turn on the key and see if we have a blower motor. I'll set you back over here, that way you can see. You're probably not going to see anything. You're going to more or less hear it. So. like we are successful. We have a working blower motor. And it smells like Croyle in there, which if you've never smelled Croyle, it smells like Pine Sol. At least that's what it smells like to me. Other people say it smells like something different to them, but to me it smells like Pine Sol. All right, so let's get our truck back together and we'll wrap this up for this part. So we got to take our coolant tanks, get them back on our studs. All right, and then we can put our nuts back on our studs. All right, so I'll show you how this goes back in. All right, so you got a notch right here, okay? It fits inside of a spot here on the intake, or on the front of the truck. So slide your 2 grommets down first, get them down in there, then you can push this down. Then you can look through the holes, and then you can just get this lined up and push it back down. And that's all there is to that. Let's get our air box on. Yeah, I think I'm going to recommend, I think I'm going to recommend an air filter to the customer. Especially because this thing's also got a P171 code for lean condition, and that would definitely cause a lean condition. Actually, it would cause a rich condition because there's no air going to it, so it's going to add fuel or maybe take away fuel. Not real sure, but for right now we're going to leave that air filter out so I can show the customer. He's probably going to tell me to go ahead and do it since it's not that cheap or not that expensive. Hook up your mass airflow sensor. What I might also do, since it's easy to do, is I've got some mass airflow sensor cleaner. I might go ahead and clean that out when I get the new air filter installed. That way, all this has been cleaned. Now, I'm going to show you something that is considered a myth in the Ranger community. And it is this sticker on top of the throttle body. See what that says? This is one of those throttle bodies that has the coating on it, which means that if you hit this with any kind of chemical, it'll take that coating off. What does that mean to you? That means that your truck will run like crap and you're gonna have to get another throttle body. So all those people that say, oh, you can clean those throttle bodies, guess what? You can, as long as that sticker's not present, because that sticker's permanent. You can't take that sticker off. It'll never come off that throttle body unless it's turned into a Sprite can or something. But if it doesn't have that sticker on it, you can open up the throttle plate, take your fingers and run them across the top and bottom of the throttle plate. And if the throttle plate feels slick, don't clean it. If it feels rough, like your finger stops as you're running it across, light bristled brush, throttle body cleaner, gently clean it off. All I'm going to tell you. All right, so let's see, we got our air box. We got to tighten that screw up. We're not going to start the truck today because we got rain coming, and on the next episode of getting this truck put together, we're going to do an oil change on it, but I'm going to show you how to do it if you want to do motor flush. It's a new service that I'm providing to the customer, and I've used it on one vehicle already, and that turned out to be excellent. So I'm going to do it on this one, because this one, the oil is pretty thin. It's not been changed in a very long time. So I want to make sure we get all the carbon and garbage out of this engine, because it's starting to develop a tick. So this will clean up the tick, usually. We're going to show you how that goes. We've also got, let's check our fluids since we had some coolant issues on this truck. Coolant's up. Coolant is full. We are in good shape. All right, so we got our, also we got to do a brake light. everything turns out right, we'll have this thing done this week. So stay tuned for some awesome Ranger content. We're gonna call it done here because I can feel the rain coming. I got a lot of stuff to clean up. So I'll see you here on the next one.